know what's happening, but here we are yet again. I think it's because during the day you just want to actually do life and not have to do something that I don't even know. You can see it's all messy, but point is of the day. I think yeah, I don't maybe people that are not specifically in the industry. This might be interesting. So a lot of people ask, or especially people in the industry, like if you're kind of commercially minded and want to, why is this changing colors so much? Um, there we go, that's much better. Yeah, so people can ask, like what makes a project successful? And there's this famous saying in Hollywood that it's like nobody knows anything, meaning that you could have a star-studded cast, an award-winning actor, director, and scriptwriter, and still get a flop. Well, kind of, yeah. Um, it's a bit unusual, but yeah, it can happen, I guess. I guess it kind of more happens with, yeah, like strictly like commercial films. And I think this goes to show there's an interesting relationship between commerce and art, and that's what I'm super interested in. That's the whole reason why I'm doing a master's at the National Film and Television School. I was looking online for quite some time throughout the years, kind of passively, and then um because I wanted to yeah, like research or just like understand more about that balance, because I trained as an actress, and then I realized, well, you know because my family was so business oriented, there was, or maybe it was just me, yeah, it was I don't know why, but there was this, there's just this pressure of and the world, you just have to also make money. And there's this book that my sister recommended to me called Big Magic, by the same author who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And the one idea that I still kind of think about is, she said, I never wanted to put financial burden on writing, on the art that she was making. And actually, I thought that that wasn't true. Maybe at the time when I was reading it, I was like, no, there has to be a way that you can make money from art and just be smarter about it. And I do have a book somewhere around here called The Art of Making Money in Art or something like that. So it's all about, but this is about painters, not I guess actors or film specifically. And for painters, this book was saying it was all about kind of um, just looking at the different revenue streams that you can get from your art, and partnering with brands, with companies, going to events, doing live paintings, and selling your prints and stuff like that. And so actually it worked. It was a partnership because the husband was the artist. I don't was probably still alive, yeah, doing the art, and then the wife um was doing all, the marketing, the like all the business deals and stuff. So that's pretty interesting. But I actually think, yeah, I actually think this is probably true, the idea of keeping the pressure off art, I think. But it's kind of yes and no. It's on the, like, Taylor Swift, I think, I mean, I haven't really studied her as a, business person, but there's a lot of press around her being, oh, she's such a smart businesswoman. I think the very little that I've researched about her grandma used to be an opera singer, and her dad worked in finance or law or something like that. Apologies. Yeah, see, I haven't researched enough, so I probably said something wrong there. But yeah, I think for any artist, knowing about business can only benefit you, because the way I see it, there's different skills to practice in life and to work on that you can or choose not to. Um, as an artist, you can work on your craft. As a, another area of your life, you might want to work on your relationships. You might want to work on learning a new language, learning cooking skills, learning um, whatever, maybe you want to be a counselor as well. Or and just as all of these are skills, I guess money is also a skill, or raising funds is also a skill. So, in essence, I don't think yeah, some people might say, no, I want to dedicate every single waking second of my life to my craft. That's completely valid. Another option is to say, yeah, I want to dedicate as much as time as possible and really improve in my craft, but I also want to learn about business so that, and this is was my case, I was like, I want to be able to sit at a table and completely understand like the deal that I'm signing and everything that I'm doing, because you do hear some stories of like people that get sort of bamboozled, I don't think that's a word, but cheated in a deal. And once you sign something, so yeah, so I personally wanted to understand the business side of things. That's why I've, after a while found, fortunately, this course. And I say fortunately because I was prepared to travel and like live elsewhere, like probably, LA, because I thought, this is capital of entertainment. Um, and I found the National Film and Television School. Obviously, I obviously knew about the school before, but this is the only course that is super practical. I had the chance to meet with Dr. Alex Connaught in October. Actually, it's one of the days of the London Film Festival. And it was right after the festival where I took an hour to go to an open day, because basically the campus is in Beaconsfield, which is really funny because it's a train that goes from Marylebone Station in London, and it's like in the direction of Oxford. I guess there's different trains that you can get, but there's also a village called Bicester Village, which is this village with discounts from really expensive like luxury brands. And sometimes, especially, I think like last time I went, I was Friday like noon, and it was just packed full of people going to buy things. So note to self, if going to Beaconsfield, please go early in the morning. I'm just definitely, yeah, I'm going to Beaconsfield tomorrow. I'm not just thinking about that. Tomorrow's going to be a Sunday as well. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so when I met with Alex, it was the open day, and I mentioned there was the campus in Beaconsfield, but there's also a campus in Soho. And the reason for this is because the course being creative business, the first semester and a bit, there's so many networking opportunities. And I mean, I was just so blown away by the sheer amount of people that were excited to give back. Like, there were so many people that were happy to donate, like, an hour of their time at the very least, because obviously that's not even counting the time it takes for them to like leave their office, come to the Soho campus, and then like go back. But they would just like give up part of their time to like, even Jane Turton, the head of All3Media, came to give a talk, and I was like, oh my god, like the amount of times that I've just been like, is flabbergasted the word? No, this probably maybe has a negative connotation. Quite the opposite. I was just like speechless. I was like, I can't believe the sheer amount of opportunities this school gives you. And I mean, like, honestly, I was just also talking with a second year from my same master's, and I was like, I don't understand. I kind of feel like I'm still not over the shock. And he was like, I'm still feeling that, because yeah, it's just like, Oscar winning, like, BAFTA winners come give us talks, and everybody's so open. And obviously, not obviously, but um there's also stuff that they say, like, we're not going to talk about this outside of class, and some things, we can't even write down or anything, but it doesn't form your understanding of the industry. So we have a Soho campus because there's a lot of people that want to donate part of the time, but they don't have enough time to go all the way to Beaconsfield, because that can take an hour and a half. It takes me an hour and a half, I think, just to get there. So that's just prohibitive to some people, especially depending on your job, I guess. But yeah, no, people are super nice. Like, obviously not everybody has the time to meet all the time, but I guess like the biggest takeaway overall is just ask for coffee and like shoot emails and network. And I know that, I think, coming from like the business that, you know or the world, I guess, like that I grew up in is very like, we were just like, it was all about being hardworking, and like it was never about looking a certain way, I guess. Or just like if you want to look a certain way, it's just looking like you work hard and that's it. As in, like, I know this sounds weird. How do you even look like you work hard? Basically, all I'm trying to say is that the business that my family was in, or is in, it's very much like industrial stuff. So you don't really dress up for things. You dress the part of what you're gonna do, obviously. And I think another big lesson that I've learned, which I'm trying to apply, is dressing up. I was talking with someone today. By the way, if you have ADHD and you're setting up your own business, or if you're a student, you get support from the government. And one of the supports that you get is called, yeah, I don't know why I say it. So for work, it's called Access to Work. And for studying, you just get, yeah, some. Why am I even mentioning this? Point is, there is support, and please apply. It makes sense. Like it's amazing. There's this woman who is my support for like just like academic stuff, and she's so good. Coming from Peru, I had this notion, or maybe it's just me, but I had this like preconceived idea that perhaps a government supplied help per person would perhaps not be the best for some reason. I was like, I obviously consciously, and if I say it out loud, obviously it makes no sense, because NHS is amazing, super happy about it. I guess it was just an idea from Peru, which again, it shouldn't be, and I'm sure there's 100 million examples of it not being the case. But anywho, and actually, no, yeah, I love, and I still love, having a chat with her. She's so wise. It's just such a joy to work with her. I think, sometimes I've had sessions with people with ADHD, or because I've got ADHD and their mental health, and sometimes I felt like I ended up helping them. And as much as that's awesome, I would rather keep that to like a coffee chat. We should let's go have a coffee, and then we can help each other. But if there's some sort of financial transaction in some way, I'm kind of thinking like this is go time, work time. I think obviously if it happens naturally that you help someone, oh my god, I love that, and I'll always look for that. But if it happens like half the time that I'm paying for, then I'm thinking like, can you do a 50% discount of the session? But no, obviously no, I never said that. And it was all on me. I should have, asked to stop sessions earlier. I had this fear of confrontation and, saying no and stuff. But it's important to say no. It is really important. I was talking to someone making a documentary the other day, and how, I grew up in Latin America. Again, it's coming up, but yeah, there's this notion of like, oh, as a young woman, you have to like smile and like, don't go after, an individual that you find attractive. It's more like you just have to make eye contact with them, and like kind of with your eyes tell them that you're interested, but let them come to you. And I think that's just so wrong. But obviously different times, and I'm sure there's going to be so many things now that people are going to look back on this time and be like, you what? Like, you thought it was okay to do that? That's so unhealthy, or whatever. So I think that's going to be interesting. Also, I used to think like in the past, learning about like human wars and like atrocities, and you're thinking like, how could people just let it happen? Like, why didn't everybody just stop what they were doing and just stop that horrible thing from happening? And then you're going through the day to day, you hear horrible things, and you're just trying to go forward with your own careers and projects in life. But yeah, it's bizarre. There's so many different realities in life. And I keep thinking, I keep, yeah, this basic fear of making this journey of sharing stuff online is that like, I don't know if it's because of ADHD specifically, but I know that in the past, or maybe it's just incredibly human, you say something and the meaning gets lost, or like the other person understands it very differently. Other times I say something, but it kind of is only like I think about something and then I only say the second part. So the full context, the first part, is never said. And so it may sound really different than what it's meant to be said. It's kind of like saying like, oh, like I'm really tired and, I love you so much. And, but, I just, it's not, yeah, it's like, I don't think I can go to the party. And instead of saying all that, you kind of just say, I don't think I can go to the party. And it's like, it's a completely different meaning, right? With the first one, you're actually saying, I care so much about it. It's not like, I don't want to go to the party. It's like, all these things are happening. Anyway, that happens as well. So I always, there's this constant thought of like, what if you get cancelled? What if, even worse, something that you say hurts someone that you love? What if? And I think a lot of the Thrive program is like, I think it's obviously, because I was talking to my mom and like I was telling her about the unhelpful thinking voices, and she was like, well, but the unhelpful thinking voices are great. I find it annoying now that the doors are open. It's like the unhelpful thinking voices protect you from making mistakes, right? And to a degree they do. I feel like I have to close them. And this even worse because you can see that there's this trash bag. Apologies. Okay, let's go open. Okay, great. So, so my mom was saying like, oh, like, they're really helpful. They're great voices. Like, why are we being negative about, or why don't we want them? So unhelpful thinking voices, they're completely normal. Actually, I have the book right here because last time I didn't. I have to put it in this little plastic thingy because I basically read it way too many times and it sort of fell apart. And this is it. This is the old school one as well. I should have it framed to just like, but there's this page which I'll briefly show because I'm not even sure of my scribbles. But so this is the unhelpful thinking style recaps. And so you have the negative thinking style, you have the obsessive thinking style, the impulsive thinking style, paranoid, black and white, catastrophic, perfectionist, hypervigilant, and learned helplessness. And so like my mom was saying like, but like if there's a degree of positivity in all of them. Like sometimes, if you're obsessing over something, usually entrepreneurs can have this thinking style because it's kind of like, I'm not going to let this problem go until I find a solution. So that can be super helpful. The catastrophic thinking style usually obviously isn't, but every once in a while, if you think about the worst case scenario, you also can make plans on how to protect yourself or your company or your project, right? It's kind of this thing that I was reading of like, you have to be optimistic, like an optimist, a pessimist, and then an optimist again. An optimist when you're starting, otherwise you would never start. A pessimist in the middle when things are going great, because you just have to question everything in order to be better, in order to like be smart about it. Like as in like, if you just think, oh, everything's going great, everything's going to keep going great, and maybe kind of te duermes en los laureles, like you fall asleep on the laurels. I don't know if that idiom exists in English that way, but it's kind of like you think everything's a bit too easy. You just don't plan for the worst, and so you might be unprepared for when something like that happens. And then an optimist at the end, I can't remember exactly why, but so it could help if you're a catastrophic thinking style in the sense that you're uber prepared. Now, how they become unhelpful thinking styles is when you just have all of like too much of one of them or all of them. Now, we all have a few of them or like all of them at some point or another in our lives, but something that I love about the perfectionist thinking style is that it's all about protecting ourselves from failure. It's about the fear of failing. And you're like, if I'm perfect, like no one can touch me. You know what I mean? As in like, yeah, my work is so good. But then there's different ways to get to perfectionism. Oh, sorry, there's different ways to get to really good results in a project. On one hand, you can go through fear, through saying like, oh my gosh, I can't make a product that's not perfect because then I won't be worthy, because then, whoever said I was unlovable is right, because then people can, hurt me, whatever. And then the other option is just to be excited about it, excited about the project that you're developing. You want to see how far you can take it. You want to see how far you can go yourself. So yeah. I also wonder if I should be testing, if maybe I should also do a live in another app and see which one does best, maybe, instead of just focusing. But the reason why I really like YouTube is because if shorts can also take up so much space in your mind, but usually, the search bar, I feel is quite prominent on YouTube. I think I feel at least a little bit more of a degree of like power or control over my experience in YouTube. Like I usually go to YouTube looking for something specifically, or the algorithm is pretty good. Whereas I feel like there's just the doom scrolling aspect of other platforms, I don't think is particularly helpful. Actually, I was talking with the writer of Thrive, whom I have to email, but he was saying how he was saying how he thinks in the future, social media is going to be as bad as like something terrible. I mean, I think he mentioned war. I think so. It's or smoking probably. It's just that degree. So I know there's completely different, but it was like something harmful to a human. And I'm sorry that I didn't take notes of exactly that. Or if I did, I don't know where they are right now. Ooh. No, I ate all of them. No, I have one more left. Anyway. Yeah. What he was saying is that the it's, I mean, there's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma that goes in detail through all like the damaging effects of social media, and it's just so easy to compare yourself, etc. Not helpful. It's a lot about external value, like valuing externally yourself. So this goes to, it's kind of like saying like one of the core aspects of the Thrive program is saying about becoming more internal rather than external. So external person is about people pleasing because you want someone else to say like, oh my gosh, you're such a good person, you're doing really well, well done. But you say like, oh, but that's lovely if someone says that. Yeah, of course. Like, complimenting someone is great. And especially if they have done a really good job, say it. Life's too short to not say it. Freaking say it. We were at a party today. This guy was wearing this cool floral shirt, and I was like, that's a cool shirt. As long as you don't make people uncomfortable. Because hopefully it doesn't come across as flirting. It's just, what I would say, I said, and previous to that, there was this girl, really cool earrings. I was like, those are some really cool earrings. So, anyway, I don't know why I was saying that. There's an issue with doing the live super late at night. I hope there's a degree of entertainment in that. But yeah, the point is to be more internal, meaning you get to decide about your self-esteem rather than leaving it to strangers. Kind of saying like, hey, and I love this exercise. It's saying like, what are you proud of? Why? And what would you tell a friend if they had told you that? A friend or a loved one, someone that you care about. So it could be something like, what are you proud of today? Oh, I'm proud of that I went to a social event. Why? Because I haven't been going to social events lately, and I was kind of doubting like my own social skills. Um, but I'm very proud that I went there. I know that I usually like to go to bed quite early, and I actually enjoy mornings better. But yeah, I made the effort, and yeah, I'm very proud that I did that. So you said, what are you proud of? Why? And then the last one, what would you tell a friend if they had told you that? So if I have a friend or my mom or somebody that I really care about says, hey, I'm really proud that, I went to a social event. I don't usually do that. And yeah, I'm just really happy that I did that I took the time to do that and just chill for a second. Even if, yeah. And I would say, like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. I'm so happy and proud of you. Because, it can be so easy to like just go along with all the things that you need to do. But you made the time, well done. I hope you had a great time, etc. So it's just that eagerness of, hyping people you love so much. And I think what was really interesting for me is when I had bad mental health is this eagerness to put myself down. It was it was just like vicious. And I thought I was helping myself just the same way that my mom was saying, no, but these negative voices are just nice. They're just trying to protect me. Yeah, I thought that by coming up with all the possible negative scenarios, I was protecting myself. I was going to make sure none of those things happened. But the truth is, if you just spend all the time worrying about something negative happening, that might never happen, and you just wasted your whole time worrying. It's easier said than done. And B, you just have a really horrible experience. Like, and experience is life. So yeah, I think, yeah, a great aspect of Thrive is that you just improve your quality of life. That's just amazing. It's so amazing. Like, how much money would you pay someone or the company to like help you gain a better experience in life? That's just priceless. That's literally your life. So anyway, yeah, very pleased to be working with them, but we need to focus on the script at the moment. But anyway, I think that's enough for the live, and I'll really see if I can do the lives in the morning, really. The reason why I push them back so much is because I think I'm still kind of creating negative thoughts of what if things go badly, but I also know that I am going to keep my word and I am going to do that. So I guess I kind of just procrastinate for a little bit. I'm like, if I watch videos, then I'll see what other people do, and hopefully it'll inspire me to be entertaining. But at this point, I think I'm just sharing things that I find interesting. Hopefully other people will find interesting, because yeah, why not? Life's too short. And I think, I've loved following people's journeys. And why not? Why not? Anyway, I think that's it. But I'll see you tomorrow, I guess. Bye. Yeah, let me know if there's any interesting things that you guys would want to talk about. I don't know. I don't also know who you are. I should probably. I think in due time, probably in day 50, I'll have some information. Otherwise, I'll make sure to improve my content so that it actually is something entertaining or useful. Maybe I could just structure it better. Maybe I could just write it down. Oh, I guess this is what I wanted to share at the beginning. How some people were saying in Hollywood, oh, like nobody knows anything. But there's still some guidelines that you can do for your project to be commercially successful. Again, the way that I see things is kind of like a project, scripted content is like on a spectrum. So like you have purely commercial on one side and you have purely artistic on the other side. Kind of an example would be like a film that's just made to be a box office success. There's a lot of PR and marketing expenditure, and it's a star-studded cast. It's not just to make a lot of money. Obviously there's really important messages probably in the film, and a lot of hard work. But that's just like one way of doing things. And then on the other hand is an artist probably doing an auteur film, and really just wanting to express what they want to express without really thinking okay, but how many people want to see this, and who really is my audience? I think to a degree, as like thinking more as a producer, I think even if you're in a very niche level, it's still very important to understand who really your audience is, because then there is probably an audience out there for you and for your project, and they're probably looking for something like your project. But if you don't communicate with them and say, by the way, here's this project that you want, then they're not going to watch it, and no, and very few people would watch it. Okay, I guess I'm talking to myself. I should probably understand who really is my audience and understand where they are, instead of just doing this live, which is something that I wanted to do. But it's just, I guess, a way of challenging myself. I kind of have this belief that in the future this work will pay off. But you could really spend years doing lives and not really people watching, because you're not making it interesting enough. You have to understand people are busy. They don't always have time to sit down. You know what? I kind of wish that, if someone's alone in the morning and they're just grabbing coffee and cereal, and then they can just like watch this. But maybe that's too grandiose of me to think that could be a thing. But yeah, oh, could happen. Anyway, point is of this video, I made a list of things that really help a project position themselves better in a commercial sense. First one being the script. It's so interesting because in this moment with the series, like, I'm not just doing the series, I'm also helping in produce this reality TV show, doing a master's. I have an essay due yesterday, well, 2 days ago now, because it's past midnight. So I'm like balancing a lot of things. Who isn't? I mean, I just think of people that also have children. I'm like, okay, I have no excuse, but also different lives, whatever, let's not compare. But the things that help position a project more commercially is, and scripted content is, story, script. And I was saying this because I was focusing on all these other things around the production, like mood boards and emailing like heads of departments at the school to kind of get some help. And also like time just passes by so quickly, because I think other people, I'm thinking like, oh, I said I would go to this, so I still have to do that. And sometimes I'm just like, fuck, sorry, I don't know if I can swear. Anyway, just I wish I could just like bunker down for a bit, although that doesn't help my mental health at all. But I wish I could just do the things that like just with one priority, which it is one priority. Sometimes with ADHD, I think it's ADHD, maybe just my personality, but sometimes you just get excited about different things, and like I noticed that I was like, I said I would go to the paint shop with my sister, and then I said I would go do this, and then it's like, wait, they're both happening at the same time. And I was so convinced that I could do both, not because I knew then that they were at the same time, but because I wanted to do both of them, and I had just no recollection that I had said yes to another thing. So sometimes that happens, but maybe that's normal. But okay, script is super important. Second one is timing. I think I already mentioned this, but this guy doing a talk about, he did 200 startups, and he wanted to understand what are the key factors for success in a startup, which are very similar to a project in the sense that they're very risky. Startups and film projects or TV, costly and risky. And timing was the number one. The third one, and I haven't put mine in order, but I really do think a script, especially if you're in scripted, is the most important. Then you need star-studded something, whether it's behind or in front of the camera, someone famous that can get people to be interested in the project. I think it's important. And then, gosh, I made the list not too long ago. I literally just wrote it down today. Oh yeah, PR and marketing, of course, and then distribute the project in a place where there's a lot of people already. Say, for instance, if you distribute something in a very niche platform that only, super connoisseurs would watch. Um, Maybe that's the perfect thing for your project, but if you're trying to reach a super wide audience, then that probably wouldn't be the case, or it would just be super hard to get people to go visit this new platform. It's just you're creating layers of friction, or reducing the levels of friction between your audience and your project. So if you just put it in front of everybody where they already are, it's just easier. So anyway, those are the 5 steps or ideas that I thought were really helpful. Then I also have another information. I was wanting to target people between like 15 to 29, and in those age groups, like the majority of people interact with media first through social media. YouTube is social media, LinkedIn is social media, and then other like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. The second place would be gaming. So a lot of people choose to socialize through gaming, because sometimes they feel like social media is too fake. Or they just like the interactive, like it's kind of like I'm not just watching a story, I'm in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm part of the story, I'm co-creating the story. And the third one is AVOD, which is an fast channel. So it's content that's free, but it's supported by adverts. And in fourth place would be SVOD, which is subscription video on demand. So, and then there's music, cable, and broadcast, and then podcast. So it's important to understand where is your audience. If your audience is 60 plus, they're probably watching broadcast TV and cable, and like just, then that's their place. But everybody, it's not that really young people wouldn't watch broadcast or cable. They do. It's just where do they spend the majority of time, and then just really understanding obviously who are the key figures that you'd want to work with. And obviously I'd love to work with broadcasters, because obviously they have just a lot of data and experience and prestige, etc, etc, etc. But yeah, data is super important to make sure they're delivering correctly. But there's also the degree of art. It's kind of like someone said, like, if Ford would have asked people like what kind of carriage they would have wanted, they probably, or mode of transportation, people would have thought of just a horse-drawn carriage or something like that. Most people would. But instead he created, the Model T, which again, I don't know how relevant this information is. And there was no reason to say again, because I hadn't said that before. But it's more the fact that to a certain degree, I think like Amazon is customer-centric and data-driven. Customer-centric means that you take the experience of your customer as like the most important thing, and then data driven is that you do a lot of data analysis and let that inform your decisions as well. But obviously, not obviously, but there's also a Harvard Business Review study thing, like paper that says basically that the higher you go, again, I don't know, why do I keep saying again? I don't know exactly where it's from, but I was saying like how the higher you go up in responsibility and like your role, the more it's about people. And in some companies there's some like technical roles that don't have to do anything with people, and they're super have a super responsibility and are super well paid. That doesn't mean that all high paying important jobs have to be about people, but if you're there's also the management level, that you do have to manage people. Anyway, I have to go. Good night, because I have a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. I'm gonna go. I don't want to say where I'm going because that's kind of weird, but it'll be a good day. Bye. I hope you have a good day too. And if you were watching this, thank you. That's really cool. I appreciate it. Bye. Obviously, nobody watched it right now because it is a Saturday at 00:46. Bye. But in the future, who knows?